In this video, we're using the data on page 512 to create a simple average method of getting a seasonal adjustment factor. A lot of words, but this is the module 6. It starts on page, it starts on page 506 and runs to page 518. All right. What I need is a table that shows the average value for each month. So I don't want the average across time in years. I want, for example, the average of January 2015, January 2016, January of 2017. Now, yes, there's a manual labor-intensive way of getting this table, but let's use a different method. Let me use a pivot table first. Let me create a pivot table. Let me place it in this document, starting in cell G1. Let's put the years as rows. No, let's not. Let's put the years as columns. Let's put the months as rows. And then let's put the demand into the body of the pivot table. Now, what we have, if you get rid of this last row and the last row and the last column, we have the table that actually lives on page 512. Well, what I need from this is I need to take the average across January's numbers, February's numbers, March's numbers, etc. So I'm going to come over here to the pivot table fields and choose View Field Settings. I'm going to change the field settings from taking the sum across rows and the sum across columns to take the average. Okay. All right, so what I have here is the average across each month for each year. And I'm going to use this average to create an adjustment factor. The adjustment factor is going to be equal to the average, for example, January, divided by the grand total. And I want to keep referencing where that grand total lives, so I put it as an absolute reference. And here are my adjustment factors for this particular problem. Okay? Now maybe I don't want so many decimals floating around. I'll try to keep it looking a little cleaner. Now I may want to have more than one way to solve this problem. The pivot table is not always available, although it is quite frequently. So let me try another way, since we'll have to have the second way when we do the moving average. So here's what I'm going to do. For January, I'm going to use a function average if. So here's what I want. I'm going to highlight the column that I am going to reference. I'm going to put the criteria. From that column, I'm going to choose the month January, and I'm going to calculate the average across demand for the month of January. Now, before I can do some copying, I've got to do a little bit of work. I have to make sure that the reference to the numbers for demand is an absolute reference, and I need to make sure that my columns here are also referring to the column A is also an absolute reference. So notice that my index numbers are coming out the same as they did in my pivot table. And I also need the overall average. That's probably a better name here. Of all demand. So across all demand. There I go. All right. Adjustment factor is just the average for a given month divided by the overall average. And as you see, my adjustment factors should come up the same using this methodology as they did using the pivot table. So there are two ways for calculating the seasonal adjustment factor using a simple averaging method. Next time we'll go over a moving average method for calculating these same seasonal factors. Thank you.